This is Midnight Frequency, a late-night signal for wandering minds.
Tonight, we travel to London, 1948. Are fairies real? In a quiet clockmaker's shop, an old man named Arthur believed one lived beside him. They called her the Little Dark Lady. Was she a figment of a fading mind, or a genuine magical visitor? Sit back, dim the lights, and let's rewind history. Welcome to Midnight Frequency.
We're doing a deep dive today on a story that really sits at this strange intersection of objective reality and selective memory.
It's a profound mystery, yeah. Our mission here is to really give you a shortcut to understanding its central paradox. We've gone through the archives, specifically the journals and, the 16-millimeter film reels.
Left behind by a man named Arthur Pendelton.
Exactly, the son of a London clockmaker. And we're trying to figure out why a verifiable truth, something captured on film, could just be completely erased from every single human memory connected to it.
Okay, so let's set the scene for you. We're talking about London, 1948. The city's still kind of shaking off the dust of the war.
Right. People are settling back into a routine. It's all about careful repair and reconstruction.
And tucked away on a quiet street in Kensington, you've got this little modest shop, Pendleton's Horology.
It was an anchor in that neighborhood, really. The owner, Arthur Pendelton, was this incredible craftsman who spent, over 60 years of his life just repairing time?
And he didn't just fix clocks. The sources paint this wonderfully clear picture of him. He was known for having impossible patience.
Soft-spoken, kind.
Yeah, and this reverence for his work. The key detail for me is that he treated every single mechanism, from a tiny watch spring to a huge grandfather clock, as if it had a personality.
Like a little soul that needed coaxing back to life.
Exactly. And this devotion to detail is what makes everything that follows so credible.
And that's where his son, Henry, comes in. He was an aspiring documentarian. He wasn't, trying to make some grand film. He was just diligently recording life post-war.
Focusing on his father's workshop.
Right.
So Henry had a 16-millimeter camera running almost constantly. He's capturing the soundscape, the tick-tock, the little clicks of brass gears.
The way the dust motes drift in the lamplight.
All of it. The concentration on his father's face. And as the archive reports, he also unintentionally documented something else besides.
And this is where the story shifts from, a quaint piece of history to a genuine enigma. The source material introduces us to Arthur's constant visitor.
Someone he called the Little Dark Lady.
Mm-hmm.
And the descriptions of her are astonishingly detailed. This wasn't some blurry shape or a vague feeling. We're talking about a creature small enough to sit on a teacup. A winged visitor.
The notes are so precise. Henry wrote about her hair being like midnight, her eyes the color of deep violets.
And wings that shimmered like obsidian. I mean, it sounds like something straight out of folklore.
It does, but the crucial part is she was a fixture in the shop. This wasn't a rare sighting. She was always there.
Always present, which is what really defies belief.
It creates this immediate, just staggering paradox. Henry's journals talk about her being there all the time, but also about the complete obliviousness of everyone else.
He recorded anecdotes from Arthur, right? Like the time she supposedly perched on a customer's bowler hat.
Right on his hat, while the guy is haggling over a repair,
Yep.
And he feels nothing, sees nothing.
Just imagine that. You're standing there in this quiet London shop, and this tiny obsidian-winged being is using your hat as a perch.
And she wasn't just hiding in the shadows. The sources say she'd often sit right out in the open under Arthur's work lamp, watching him.
Almost like a guardian.
Or a muse, maybe. A muse of the whole temporal process.
Which forces us to ask the big question Henry himself wrestled with. How can this physical entity be so completely overlooked by everyone?
Customers, delivery boys, neighbors. Even Henry himself, who was filming the shop every day, he didn't register her presence at the time.
So what's the theory there?
Well, it brings up ideas from psychology, things we now call inattentional blindness. A healthy mind is an incredible filter. It prioritizes data, it throws out what it thinks is irrelevant.
And it confirms what it expects to see.
Exactly. We're constantly editing the world around us without even knowing it.
So you're suggesting the Little Dark Lady. She didn't fit the mental model of a 1940s London clock shop, so every healthy brain just filtered her out.
That's the framework the source material seems to lean toward. A kind of collective psychological exclusion. She was present in the objective space, but completely absent from the subjective reality of anyone walking in.
Except, of course, for Arthur Pendelton, because that is where this whole story takes its really heartbreaking turn.
Time, the very thing he worked with his whole life. As the archive puts it, it proved to be a cruel master.
Arthur reached his late 70s, and he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Which is just a devastating diagnosis for anyone, but for a man whose whole identity was built on precision and memory.
The slippage was profound. Henry documents it all. His father started forgetting the names of his tools, then his neighbors.
He even forgot the name of his own son, the very person trying to preserve his legacy.
Henry's journals from that time are just, and it's so painful to read. It's the slow erasure of a man's entire world.
But here it is. Here's the magnificent, confounding paradox at the very heart of this story.
The one single memory that the disease couldn't touch.
The one thing it couldn't dim was the vivid, crystalline memory of the little dark lady.
That's incredible. The part of his mind dealing with the fantastical, the impossible, was the only part that stayed resilient.
He couldn't remember how to fix a watch, but he could recall every single detail of her obsidian wings.
Henry recorded his father's words. Arthur would sit in his chair, smiling at what looked like empty air, and he'd whisper,
"She was real, you know, the little dark lady."
"People think I forget things now, and they're right about almost everything, but I remember her."
That testimony it forces us to reconsider the whole hierarchy of memory, doesn't it? Why was that memory more protected than the memory of his own family?
Well, the family's reaction was understandable. They thought they were just hallucinations.
Of course. The final, sad retreat of a brilliant mind into fantasy. Even Henry accepted that his father was just grasping onto a delusion.
And that's what everyone believed, until years later, after Arthur had passed away. Henry was clearing out the workshop.
And it was only then, in a deep storage area, that he found it.
The artifacts. He found this old, ornate, metal biscuit tin.
The kind of thing you'd use to keep something truly precious safe. And inside were dozens of tightly wound 16mm film reels.
Just labeled with dates from the late 40s and early 50s.
These were the reels he'd shot all those years ago. He hadn't looked at them since. So he sets up the old projector, he starts to run the footage.
And the truth is revealed, frame by painstaking frame. The film, the objective witness, had definitively captured the little dark lady.
And not as a blur or some trick of the light.
No, as a distinct, tiny figure. Sometimes she's on a shelf, other times she's sitting right there beside Arthur while he works.
It's the ultimate contradiction. The mechanical evidence confirms Arthur's failing memory, but it contradicts the memory of Henry, the cameraman, and every other healthy eyewitness.
So that discovery, that moment, it brings us to the core of this whole deep dive. It forces us to confront two huge questions about consciousness and reality.
First, there's the neurological puzzle. How could a man with a memory-wasting disease who lost his own identity retain this one fantastic memory?
It almost suggests that the part of his brain responsible for filtering reality, the part that would normally say that's impossible, that was the first part to fail.
So he wasn't remembering better, he was filtering less.
Right. His disease, by stripping away the mind's conventional editing tools, actually allowed him to see what the healthy were actively excluding.
His world became confusing, yes, but maybe only the human world. His perception of the deeper reality of his workshop might have become radically honest.
And the second question is about the evidence itself. Why do these clear physical images exist on celluloid, while this subjective human memory of every single observer is a complete blank?
The film confirms she was objectively there, in the light, but the humans around her were living in a reality that had already edited her out.
It totally reframes how we think about reality. We assume that if something is physically there, verifiable by a machine, we must register it.
But this story suggests our perception is far more subjective, far more exclusionary than we admit. The camera, because it lacks that human filter, just remain honest.
So, Henry's film isn't just an artifact. It's a vital piece of evidence about how perception works. It's the one unblinking record that Arthur Pendelton wasn't hallucinating.
He was just the only person left who was capable of observing the truth of that room.
Arthur Pendelton, this kind, patient man, spent his whole life trying to solve the mystery of time with gears and springs. He never quite did, but The archives his son left behind suggest he found something maybe more precious than time itself.
A constant, real companion who defied the very limits of human recall, the documentation of the little dark lady. It kind of restores a chapter of history that our own consciousness tried to erase.
It makes you stop and think about the sheer amount of information our minds just discard every single second, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You have to wonder what other truths, what other persistent chapters of history, time, and convention have just wiped from our perception.
And if, as the sources strongly suggest, the little dark lady still lingers there in that profound silence between the ticking of the clocks, what are we, with our healthy, over-edited minds, missing right now?
This concludes tonight's transmission. The record remains incomplete, as most forgotten stories do. If this story stayed with you, let it rest quietly where memories go before sleep. Until the next frequency.